Every band I'm throwing on stage.
What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark Show. Powered and sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark Show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW, we'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark Show at Fishbowl Studios. We out. What it do? What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark Show from Fishbowl Studios. Each week, 11 to 12, we got it going on for you. I got three guys that I love, three guys that I respect. Got Coach Jay from EPIC Sports Apparel. Got my guy, Coach Willie Pyle from FASST Performance, and my right-hand man, Scott Rapp from Prep Redzone Texas. What's going on, fellas? How's everybody doing?
What's going on?
We good, Hen. We good, baby.
Let's go. Let's get it, man. Let's jump right into EPIC Sports Apparel. They are our sponsor of the On Your Mark Show. Got CEO Stephon Johnson. Coach, just give me the backdrop, kind of what everything started, and what's the the genesis of EPIC Sports Apparel.
Well, number one, man, EPIC stands for Every Play I Compete. And the whole thing was to give athletes of any sport, any walk of life, whether it's badminton, football, golf, whatever, something that they can be proud of because, we always preach and compete, compete at a high level. So if you do something at a high level, there's a very, very high chance of something being epic. So it just kind of, came about. Honestly, just thinking of what can I do in the space to be different, and I came up with the name EPIC. Then I broke it down to every play I compete, and it stuck. And that's been my mantra, In our training, it's always compete, prepare, compete, be ready, work while you wait, all of that. So this just kind of worked out.
Now, let's talk about, you talked about the training a little bit. Just give us a little bit on the background of the training. You started out with coast to coast. You started out in the track. You started out in football. A little bit of everything. Just talk about that a little bit.
Functional movement is the foundation of what coast to coast is. So coast to coast started as a track team 23 years ago. And we kind of branched off into 7-on-7, just really making sure that young men, young women had a strong foundation. So I got certified in functional movement about 13 years ago, and that was very important as far as how, I train all the kids that come across with me. It all ends back to speed, so my slogan is have speed will travel, just like the old Western, have gun will travel. Because for me, it was like I can take 10 kids, pull up anywhere in the country, and we're going to show you what we can do. And we won a whole lot all over the country. So, it wasn't about the numbers. It was more about, how many kids can I get that are, people say are underachievers. I want to open them up. I want to basically take them from nowhere to somewhere and give them opportunity to be great. And that's by teaching them their own bodies. How do you utilize your body, which is functional movement, right? You can go from one sport to any sport if you understand how to move, and the speed will come from that. So that's been the foundation. I hate that I'm not able to do a whole lot of track right now because it's just not enough time in the day. We're doing 7-on-7, but hopefully at some point, one of the kids that came from the program can come in and bring the track part back. I'm working on it, so I'm really close. So, we'll definitely keep working towards that.
Well, definitely, Coach. Like I say all the time, the proof is in the pudding. Your resume speaks for itself.
Appreciate
Let's
you.
talk about EPIC just a little bit. EPIC athletes. That's something that you've been introducing, and we'll get to flex on after that. But give me what your thought process was behind that.
So the thought process behind that was, guys like yourself, Scott, to start identifying, kids that carry that mantra, kids that are going to be that, I'm going to go hard from the beginning to the end. You know, I want to really, and those kids aren't always your 5-star kids, they're workhorses, right? That's important because I think we've gotten away from that compete for competition's sake. And I say that because I'm on the sidelines a lot, and a kid will be like, Coach, take a picture of me. I'm like, dude, it's a game going right now. Like, you should be locked in, you know. So it's right after a game, can I get those pictures? Can I get the video? You know, it's like, dude, like, are you locked in? You know, so I think we've social media, we've gotten away from that hungry that, you know, when we were coming up, it was, man, rock, paper, scissors, I'm trying to win. You know, I tell people all the time, man, if I'm playing marbles against my grandmama, I'd be like, G-Ma, you shouldn't play me. I'm a competitor. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to take it. You know, I want to win. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think giving a spotlight to those kids, you know, because you don't really hear about them enough. You hear about the guys with the measurables and, you know, but what about that one that whenever you see him, he going and he ain't stopping. You know what I'm saying? He's laser focused. Those are the kids that, you know, I want us to continue to give a spotlight. Everybody talks about, you know, all the big stars and all of that. Let's talk about the workhorses. So that's kind of where the EPIC athletes come in at, you know. And again, it's every play I compete, I want to find them. Where are they? You know, those are the kids I want to know.
Absolutely.
Something great's gonna happen for them, you know. And just to give you a quick story about that, not to even bring my son up, but you know, his opportunity as a starter this past Saturday, right, is the epitome of exactly what I talk about. Exactly. Every play, from play one, you can go back and look at the film, to the end of the game. You know, he competed at a high level. I pushed that in his brain. You know, if you're gonna do it, go hard until the end. You know, or don't do it at all. So those are the kids that, you know, I want us to continue to focus on, and I appreciate you guys for helping in that.
Absolutely. Shout out to my guy, Stephon Johnson. Big game, over 90 yards. He's going to crack that end zone. I can tell in his body language. He's hungry for it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I you know him personally, so it's kind of different seeing it on the next level, and that's what it's all about. That segues right into Flex Zone 101s. We had a couple of camps. Scott was involved as well. Just talk about the Flex Zone as well, of what that's going to be like. Talk about that a little bit.
So I need this man next to me to show up. I need Willie there. So
right. Talk to me.
The concept behind Flex Zone was Willie does camps. You know, I've done many camps, helped at a whole lot of camps, and the one thing that I've always seen, you know, in a camp setting is somewhat of a bias, right? And in saying that, it's, you know, how do you get to the MVPs? You know, who if you go to a camp, everybody, you know, you got 300 kids there doing your drills, you know, everybody do their thing, one-on-ones. How do you get to the MVP, right? Yeah. So a lot of people say, well, man, it's always, you know, the big names and blah, blah, blah. So I said, you know what, let me create a system that includes everybody. So that way when you show up, no matter how tall you are, how small you are, you know, you have an opportunity to be seen. We're going to look at you every single rep. You know, so we score everything based on, we use one route tree, and it's mandatory that everybody use that route tree. So your quarterback is being held accountable. DB is being held accountable. Our coaches are being held accountable. Receivers held accountable, right? So it's I don't care who you are, what your name is. And the very first one, I think my son might have won one medal. And people were like, you know, he didn't do nothing. You know, he was 8th grade, but he had a bad camp. You don't get rewarded for that. Because it's really, when you think about it, when you go to a college camp, right, the work that you put in, you can either walk away empty-handed or you can walk away with a relationship or the big one, the O. Right? So what are you doing as a kid, as a youth, to prepare mentally, right? So when you're there, you say, okay, I've been in situations where I know when I get there, this is what I have to do, right? And not saying that, there is a space for everything. You have your exposure camps, you have your camps where you go and add tricks to the bag. This is just competition, right? Go to those, and I encourage every kid, every parent, if you can afford it, go, because the experience, right? You want to learn as much as you can about all your competitors. This is just a different lane in the sense of, you're coming straight competition, period. And if you get the highest score, and we do an IQ test when you walk in, and funny part is most kids don't pass. So I tell that to the parents to say, you're looking at the game from the outside, but do you honestly know if your kid has football IQ? Because a lot of mistakes they're making isn't because physically they can't, they just don't know what to do. Right. And that's why we're going 4th through 9th grade, to give a foundation and an elevator to what you can do once you get to high school. So I believe in it. Kids love it. Parents love it. If I can get more guys like to show up. And shout out to all my coaches, man. That's rocking. Shout out. We're going to keep adding guys. We're working on dates right now. So be ready, y'all. Flex Zone is coming.
Absolutely.
It's coming.
And part of that is the On Your Mark show as well, sponsored by EPIC
Absolutely.
Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. 2 guys that I know that stuck out, and I'll get Scott to weigh in on this. The first guy I liked from the Flex Zone, and I still follow him, is Caleb Cruz. He's from Midland, Texas, class of 2027. Ooh. I think one of the most fundamentally sound defensive backs that I've seen at a young age like that. And then he jumps over on the offensive side, and it's just his ice water in his veins over there as well. I really, really like everything that he does, the footwork, the hips. He's always in position to make a play, whether he looks like he's being beat, he kind of fools the quarterback. But I think that this guy, I can't wait till he gets to high school. Shout out to my guy, Caleb Cruz. His family, they do a great job of social media exposure as well. We'll get you guys to chime in on that. But Scott, just talk about Caleb Cruz a little bit.
Yeah, I've actually known Caleb since the youth football days, being from Midland, Texas myself. The kid has the motor and the juice. I mean, nonstop. The kid will get it. I mean, he stands out above the rest. It is in class of 2027. I mean, the kid's unreal. I would almost put money on it that he's a starter as a freshman on the Midland Legacy squad. That's my opinion.
I think so too. I can't wait to see him on a high school level. Some of the stuff that he does in the middle school against a regular middle school team just looks unfair. Right. I mean, the guy's just explosive. He turns on another gear, and then he's savvy with whatever he does. Ball handling is great when he has it in his hand. I just love his game. But Coach, talk about Caleb just a little bit.
What he said. No, I mean, listen. From day one, I was like, dude, your ceiling is amazingly high, and talk to his dad, call a checkup on him. What I'm gonna do that? Oh, he training, That's the recipe.
The work
ethic. That is the recipe, and it goes back to what you said. He's always doing something. You said the same thing. Every play I compete. Yep. It doesn't matter with that kid, his motor, and he's undersized right now, but he plays like a giant.
Right.
And those are the kids that I love to support, because again, a lot of times you don't get a whole lot of publicity, because you're undersized, but this kid can go. And then where he's from, right. He comes to Dallas and locks up dudes, being from Midland, and dudes like, wait, what? Where you from? Like, huh? Like,
West Texas.
Right. And I mean, he has a swag, and he gonna tell you, look, don't worry about where I'm from. Getting these lines, man. I got something for you.
Right.
An amazing kid and also amazing family. They've done a great job. You know what? I think a lot of people will say, you know, they've watched my journey, you know, with Boogie for years, and they'll see that the namesake is, you know, again, coast to coast, because I travel, you know, whether it's my track team or camps, or, you know, we'll pull up, you know, if it's some heat on the West Coast, you ready? Let's go, y'all. And we're going to go find it, you know, because it was important to make sure kids understand, not just my son, but the other kids that travel with us, to understand that there's competition, there's guys working everywhere. And it's easy, you know, to sit in a sandbox, but until you actually get out there and say, man, these dudes just like me. You know what I'm saying? They from a different area, but they do the same stuff I do, right? So now, fast forward, when you get to college, you're like, man, I faced you years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know you personally. We camped together. You know what I'm saying? So I know what that looks like, versus a lot of kids get shell shocked because they get out of their sandbox and the world is too big and they can't adjust fast enough, you know. But man, Caleb is, yeah, he that dude.
You like that?
Yeah, he that dude.
Yeah.
We'll be taking some trips down there to cover that guy
Absolutely.
for years to come.
Absolutely.
Like that's a trip. I'm like, calendar. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm
Definitely
ready.
puts in the work.
Definitely puts in
Hey,
the work.
man,
Definitely.
if y'all don't know, Caleb Cruz,
2027, Midland, Texas.
and it's
Get to know him.
it's a young Pyle kid coming out from somewhere. That's gonna be sweet too.
We're going to get into that in
We'll
just a
get
little
into
bit. That's a prelude to a next segment. But, Coach, also talk about the gear a little bit, you know, the athletic gear that you got, where they can find it, the website and everything.
EveryplayIcompete.com. We are slowly adding, you know, new things to the website. The growth, you know, honestly is I'm not trying to grow very fast because I want to make sure that I put out a great product, you know, and being a black-owned business, I understand the scrutiny of, you know, making sure that everything is, you know, top of the line. So it's not, I want to rush to corner the market with anything. It's just any and everything that I put out, I want it to be great. You know, I want it to be epic. So we are really big on custom apparel. So if you guys need anything custom, go to the website. Our email address is there. Reach out. We'll definitely, you know, make it work. And we stand by everything that we do. You know, I've lost, and I'm not afraid to say it, you know, I've lost money on, I had stuff come in and not the right size. You know, it happens. You know, it's the industry. As a matter of fact, I did a whole coaches shirts for some coaches, 56 shirts, and I think 20 of them were the wrong size. I redid every last one of them just to show the customer, you know, hey, I'm serious about what I do, you know, and they didn't have to pay a dime for it, you know, because I don't want to make those mistakes, but it happens, you know. So I ate the bullet, you know, hey, I'll remake them all.
There you go.
You know, so that's kind of where, you know, I stand as far as my approach, you know, and that's just growing up Sears, you know,
Absolutely.
how Sears stayed in business for so long. Bally Shoes, you know, I was in college, I worked for Bally Shoes. Those guys stayed in business for so long because their customer service was outstanding. So to be a great business, you got to have customer service. You're going to make mistakes, you know, own up to it, fix it, keep it moving. And that's where we stand.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. Look for
No, I
Coach
thank
to be
you.
here every week. He's
Absolutely.
going to be the co-host. Powered and sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel, the On Your Mark show here at Fishbowl Studios. We're going to pause, take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Coach Willie Pyle from FASST Performance.
Yes.
Let's go.
What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark show. Powered and sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark show at Fishbowl Studios. We out. We're back here on the On Your Mark show from Fishbowl Studios each week, 11 to 12. Man, in a beautiful Bedford, Texas, powered and sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel, every play I compete. I'm going to bring in my guy, Coach Willie Pyle from FASST Performance. Coach, tell me what's going on, how you feeling?
Man, I'm great, Marc. Man, I appreciate you having me on your show, man. I'm excited. This is awesome.
Anytime. You know, this is not our first rodeo, man, but just tell me how you got started a little bit. First, let's go back a little bit about you. I like to tell their background, tell their stories.
Okay.
Man, looking up a few things, play a little quarterback in Virginia and everything. Just talk about that a little bit.
Come on now. Hey, I got that cannon now. Don't get it twisted.
All right.
Right. So true story. I was a hooper. I was born in New York, right? And when you grow up in the Bronx, everything is basketball. You know, you only need one person in the ball, and that was me in the ball to go play. I didn't even have a hoop. We shooting on the fallout signs. We shooting on inner tires. That's what we did growing up. Football, you know, sometimes you got to have somebody to throw it to. You got to run with them. So we didn't really have that. A lot of concrete where I grew up. I moved to Virginia. Mom took a job in Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia. That's where we claim the hometown, Northern Virginia, for those DMV, for others who may know what that is.
No doubt.
So I go there, and I link up with a bunch of good friends who all hoop. And so we're hooping, having a good time. This is middle school. I moved when I was in 6th grade. So I was a new kid in that transitional puberty stage. And it was like, dang, I'm the new guy. I always was taught the best way to make friends is go play sports. Right? So I'm in there hooping with them. And then, you know, I'm New York at that point. Hey, man, we got New York on our team. And so I'm out there hooping and, you know, just showing my athleticism, showing them I love to pass the ball. I fashioned myself after Grant Hill at that age and stage. This was 91. This is Duke. The height of Duke basketball. Grant was in Northern Virginia. That's where he's from. So I was like, I'm going to be like Grant. I want everybody to want to be on my team. And so I had a good upbringing in terms of playing hoops. But then freshman year in high school comes, and everybody's going out for the football team. Well, at this point, I'm in the marching band, and I'm playing basketball. Football's not even on my radar. But my boys were like, look, man, you need to come play football with us to waste time before basketball season. So I go out there, and I'm like, well, shoot, my favorite football team is the 49ers. I grew up watching Jerry Rice, right? Ronnie Lott, you know, Tom Rapp, Brent Jones, Joe Montana, Steve Young. Those were my guys. My family's all from New York, and so I wanted any team that was going to be beating up on them. So they sitting on one couch rooting for the Giants. I'm on the other couch rooting for the 49ers. Yeah. So every missed field goal, every big catch, every big play, it was life and death in our households. And so football wasn't on the radar. So I get to freshman year, and the coach is like, who's going to play receiver? Everybody hand goes up. Who's going to play quarterback? And it was like 2 people. And at that point, they were like, look, we need some people to play quarterback. So my boy nudges me and said, look, you play quarterback, you touch the ball every play. I said, I like those odds. He said, you play neighborhood quarterback when we do neighborhood versus neighborhood, you always all-time QB. You need to do it. So I go. That first year, we go undefeated, right? Had a great group of kids. We went undefeated. Sophomore year, I'm splitting time between JV and varsity, playing a little bit of DB, but mostly QB. We go undefeated again. And then my first touch on varsity, homecoming, take it to the house. Coach is like, we got one, right? And at that point, I'm like, shoot, this football thing ain't that bad. But I'm still hooping. I was on JV as a freshman and then, moving up the ranks in hoops. But he was like, look, it's 12 scholarships in basketball. It's 85 in football. Do the math. So, I love math. I was a good kid in school now. 85, all right, 12. He was like, look, a 6'2 guard in the DMV, DC area, dime a dozen. And we going up against like T-Mac, right? 6'7", coming down the lane, banging on people from Mount Zion. You're like, all right, I can shoot, I can dunk, but I ain't doing that.
Right.
But a 6'2 quarterback, a 6'2 receiver, a 6'2 DB makes a whole lot more sense. Then he starts looking at the letters I was getting. And I was getting, decently recruited, mid-majors in basketball, nothing crazy. Like I wasn't going to, be the next J.J. Redick or nothing like that. But I look at the football ones, and I'm getting letters from Coach Blake out of Oklahoma. I'm getting letters from Mummy in Kentucky. I'm getting letters from Ohio State. I'm like, man, this is real. So then I went to one camp, and I was the Michigan camp. My mom got for me to send me to one camp. I went to the Michigan camp. I got the top DB award. I made it to the finals of the Smokehouse. I met Brady and Woodson. Woodson was my favorite player in college growing up. And so I went to that camp. When I came home, I had offers, I had opportunities to go, and then I was fortunate to keep going. We made it all the way to the state semifinals my senior year as a quarterback and DB, and got a full ride at Virginia Tech. And like they say, the rest is history, man.
Absolutely. Talk about Virginia Tech a little bit. A lot of times people recognize Virginia Tech from Mike Vick, one of the most famous players to come out of there. But talk to that a little bit.
Yeah. So that's funny you brought up that name specifically because Mike and I were in the same recruiting class of '98. And many people in Virginia Tech, will say that was the class that put us over the edge. We had good depth. We had good veteran leadership going in. We just needed that spark, that dynamic athlete, that group of athletes to come in. And Mike led the charge. And so Mike played quarterback, obviously. Willie Pyle played quarterback. Mike was from down at 7'5". He was the number 2 player in his area. The number 1 player, not only in his area and in the country, was a guy by the name of Ronald Curry. Ronald Curry is now the receivers coach, maybe co-OC in New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
But Ron C was the guy.
Yes.
So if you think about what Kyler Murray did here, Ron was doing that 15 years prior.
I remember that.
And when I say the GOAT, this dude could have been an All-American safety, All-American punt returner, and a quarterback and a receiver. He ended up in the league actually playing receiver. But he went to UNC, and he was the number 1 player in basketball. So how Kyler was a baller in baseball, Ron C had it in basketball. He was that guy. So Mike was kind of living in the shadows, but everybody knew Mike had talent. And so Mike comes to Virginia Tech. He wears number 7. Well, Willie Pyle wore number 7 too, right? You see, I ended up in 35. See how that worked out, right? You got to learn. You learn some things real quick, coach.
Adjustments.
Yeah, you got to adjust. And so I get there, and Bud Foster was my D coordinator. He's actually recruited me, so he was my physical actual recruiter. And, we're recruiting you as an athlete. I think we got this quarterback thing handled. I was like, no doubt. But if you need me, I got it, right? But he was like, nah, I think we got a guy. And so I get to Virginia Tech, man, and I redshirt that first year. Was the best thing for me to develop physically, mentally, emotionally, just the adjustment to get to college. And I think that was a huge thing for me personally. It may not be for everybody, but for me, it worked out great because I was able to get into the weight room. I was able to get the pace of the classes. I was able to understand the social landscape, right? And then you start developing. And so it was that redshirt freshman year that I started getting on the field. Well, I get injured. Well, shoot, I get injured. Hurt my neck, making a tackle, hit the dude, tackle for loss, of course. But I got injured. So I sit out a couple games, I come back playing a JV game, and next thing you know, coach was like, we got to get this guy on the field. Well, that was the year we went to the national championship when Mike was up in the running for the Heisman.
Right.
So we get to the national championship, we lose to Florida State, but there was a moment in that game, and I have to send you the video. Our starting safety was also the personal punt protector. He runs a fake. Beams was, feeling risky, Coach Beamer. He runs a fake, dude gets smacked, concussion. Well, all week, Willie P was running with the twos at safety, right? Our starting corner, boundary corner, pulled a hamstring on a punt return, so he was out. So we had a freshman playing in that position. Now, I was number 2 safety, but really it was our field corner who was the veteran. He's actually the DB's coach for the Titans now, Anthony Midget. He was the backup. So Coach Foster had a decision to make. Do I put a freshman in, already have another freshman to keep my veteran over here, or do I bring in a sophomore at corner and move my veteran to free safety? Because you got to be the communicator. Right. Now, that whole week, I had a great week of practice. That let them know that I was ready to take on that role of competing for that position. Coach looks at me, looks at the scoreboard, looks at the other guy, puts the other guy in. I undo my chin strap, and I don't know if it was even close that he was even thinking about it. But in my mind, I was like, dang, I was that close to having an impact in the game. Well, we end up losing, get beat over the top. Peter Warwick makes a big play. We end up losing, and as they're holding up the gold ball, Bobby Bowden, I'm over here on the side on the bench, looking at the scoreboard. I said, you know what? I'm never going to sit the bench here again, ever. That spring, I went out, I hit everything moving. Averaged a pick of practice. I'm smacking people in the mouth. You wasn't a teammate at that point. Everybody played for Florida State that spring. And so at that moment, coach said, look, we pencil you as a free safety. 36 straight starts later, 2-time All-American, All-Conference, led the league in picks, all that good stuff. The rest, again, was history. But I made that determination on the bench in New Orleans that I'm never going to sit the bench and be a backup here again. And that's what it took. So when I started putting my mind and stuff, I realized the power of the mind is real big. And I worked at it. I ran my fastest times. I was strong. I was mentally, I was sharp. I knew everything that was going on. I knew the calls before the coach knew it. And so I'm over there making adjustments. So my nickname was the General. So I'm over there getting people lined up. I'm turning guys into positions to make picks. And that was the sign of being a better football player or an elite player, is how much better you can make the guys around you. And so we had guys, Ronyo Whitaker played in the league, Vinny Fuller played in the league, D'Angelo Hall played in the league, Eric Green. These are all guys that were in the secondary taking orders from me, right? And they in their second round, first round pick, number 8 overall, third round pick, undrafted free agent playing 5 years. These are all guys that are in the secondary with me in that meeting room. And I knew at that point that my leadership, my work ethic was going to take me very, very far. And so it did. I went to Virginia Tech and ended up leaving there, getting drafted by the Chiefs, and, kept going.
So how did that set you up for success at the next level? You talked about getting drafted.
Yeah.
All of those things are kind of a microcosm of what goes on today in recruiting and getting to each step at the next level.
Yeah.
So how did you set yourself up for success getting ready to prepare for the NFL?
Hey, that's a great question, man. So when I was it started in the classroom. So by me redshirting, it allowed me to take classes so I can prepare to graduate. I knew my number one promise to my family was that I was going to use this opportunity to get a degree. So I got my degree in business management with a leadership minor from the Pamplin School of Business at Virginia Tech. And so I knew when I was getting recruited, I said, what's your business program like? I knew what I wanted to study. I knew what I wanted to get into. I knew what I wanted to learn going in. So having a plan going in was number one. So I went in and said, I'm going to graduate so that I can use my last year to focus on being a pro. And so I graduated basically 3.5 years. My last year was an internship, my last semester. So then my redshirt senior year, which is my 5th year, I took pass-fail classes and was watching soap operas, right? I would go to work out. I would go watch film. I would go to practice. I would go work out. I would go watch film. I would go to practice. Then we play. And I kept that schedule my senior year, first semester, while football season was going on. And that was a precursor to what the league was going to be like. You go to work, you got to go work out, you go to training room, you go lift, you go to meetings, you go to practice. That's what it was. You take care of your body. And so at that age, I started understanding that I needed to create this environment that was going to prepare me for what life would be like as a pro. So I made my circle a lot smaller. Right, I wasn't necessarily dealing with a whole bunch of folks that were in the community. I was more so keeping it strictly to my family, my good friends, the guys on the team. I made that circle a lot smaller. I started realizing the things that I was putting into my system, what I eat, the supplements. I wasn't big on supplements, but in college they make you take them. So what am I putting into my body? What am I eating? What type of rest am I getting? Right, I'm gonna still have fun. Like, we part of this college. But at the same time, I started focusing on what is it gonna be like to get ready for the league. So when I went through that last year, in college, and then that second semester I went to go train up in New Jersey at PRZ, I knew that I was already prepared to be a professional just based on how I approached that whole thing, starting from my freshman year all the way through my redshirt senior year. How I approached it, I knew I was going to be ready for the league.
Well, definitely, that was kind of why I wanted to ask that question, because this all goes back into recruiting and how everything is shaped up these days. It's a lot faster. I think that athletes at the high school level, with guys like Coach and yourself, are better prepared. We're going to get to 707 and how that prepares those guys as well. But is that kind of what the genesis of FASST Performance was? Talk about that.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, FASST Performance, like Coach over here, seeing it, we got the same mind because we love those acronyms. Right,
Absolutely.
Everything. When I go and speak, I do a lot of speaking engagements.
Absolutely.
I host events. I do charity galas. I do all that stuff. And I love using acronyms because it takes something, a big picture idea, breaks it down into small parts, and then bring it back together to make sense. Right? And so it's that whole part, whole teaching method and mentality. And so with FAST, it's footwork, agility, speed, strength, and technique. So those are the 5 core areas I believe in sports performance. You got to have good footwork. Right? Outside of swimming, every sport has to have good footwork. Every sport. Right? Even golf, because believe me, I shift my feet a lot when I'm swinging that club. So your feet got to be right? Your agility, right? For sports specific, right? Agility. Your speed, sports specific speed. Your strength, sports specific strength. Your technique, sports specific technique. Every sport that we play involve those 5 core principles. And so what we do is we bring it out of them. Hey, let's get your footwork right. Let's get your agility right. A kid may be strong in one area and weak in another. How can we bring that up so it all becomes a strength? And so I started in 2014. After I retired, I ended up playing 10 years as a professional. I did drafted by Kansas City in the 7th round, was there 03, 04, beginning of 05, got released, came to Dallas 05 and 06, got released there, finished up in Toronto in the CFL from 07 to 2012. And so 10 years, I'm gathering all this information on how to train, how to get ready, how to prepare, how to take care of your body, what areas I need to develop. Because I had I had somebody that was like me coming up by the name of James Church. And I would go to Virginia Beach and go train with him. And his son is actually Coach Church, who's on my 707 staff. He's his son is coaches with me. But Coach Church would have us, and he would break down, hey, man, you need to work on this. You need to run hills. You need to get stronger here. You need to develop more quad strength. So he would break that stuff down. And so I had that. So that was kind of the inspiration really behind it. How can I be like him, successful, family-oriented, got great kids, got a great business, but he's making time to give back to guys like myself and my best friend, Keith Burnell, who introduced me to him and actually introduced me and my wife. How is he making time to give back to us to make sure we have opportunities? And so that's what was the inspiration behind it. So when I created FAST, I was like, man, I need to have something that I can use and leverage my experience, my opportunities, my network to help the next wave of athletes. Selfishly, it started with my son, Jalen. And then it expanded to his friends, his teammates. Then we created a flag team. The next thing you know, we're doing sevens. And then now we have a whole organization where we're training, we're developing, we're competing, we're giving exposure, we're giving them the mental side, we're giving them guidance on the recruiting path, right? We're connecting them with social media guys like yourself. Like, we're doing all those things now, but the inspiration and the start behind it was just, great people doing what was right for these young men.
Now, how important is it, in the athlete spectrum as far as, because you start at the younger ages.
Yeah.
I've seen you at the 707s. You got these guys before they get to high school. So that's preparing them for when they get there mentally and physically. So what was the, thought processes on that as well?
That's important because we actually, when I first started training, I was working with guys getting ready for the draft.
Right.
Like, that was my bread and butter, was helping guys come in as college guys, and then we would train during those 8 weeks leading up to their pro day or combine, and then send them off, then get them back before training camp, mini camp, and training camp. So that was how I really started doing that. But then I realized if the pyramid of success in football, and at the top is the NFL, and at the bottom is all the kids trying to play, I needed to flip it upside down and focus on the base, so that as they funnel through, those, 1% of the 1% can actually get to where I was fortunate to get to. And so we know that that's a small window. But up here, there's a lot of athletes who are trying to work towards that. So I focused on that aspect and funneled it back down towards my pro guys. And so when you say, how did you determine to get the younger athlete? That was the model. It was, okay, if at one point, 1,900 guys can say that I'm in the NFL, right? 90-man off, or 3,000 guys, if you will, and 90-man off-season roster in the NFL. Well, shoot, it's 3,000 kids between Southlake, Keller, Grapevine, Colleyville, Coppell. Like, it's a lot of kids there that want to develop in not just football, but baseball, soccer, basketball, swimming. I've had cheerleaders. Like, we get them all sports. And so how can I help them get to their next level, right? Their next level may be B team to A team, right? B team to A team starter, A team to JV. Like, their next level is each individual's path. But for me, how can I help them get there? Well, you teach them the work ethic. Then you show them how to do it. And then you show them how, in their sport, they can get better. And so by doing that, man, we started getting these athletes going. And then going back to your point of getting them young, when you get them young, you get to put your imprint on how they need to work, how they can approach situations. And then you let their natural abilities and want to take over. Every parent I get, every athlete I get, I preface every conversation with, if this is what you want to do. Right? Because like Coach said in the first segment, if this is what you want to do, then we're going to go all in. Right? If you're kind of halfway, you feel like you're getting forced to do it, but you know what? Yeah, we got opportunities for you over here. Yeah. No problem. But my goal is results oriented. Right? Our program, you see the athletes that come out of there, it's results driven. If we're not getting results, we ain't going to be in business too long. But we're getting results. And so that allows us to keep pushing. And so to your point, I get them, and I like to get them when they're younger so that you start doing the imprint on how to work, how to approach situations, how to train, how to develop, how to create an environment around yourself so that you can keep going forward.
Now let's flip the script to 707 for a second. I know you guys have one of the better teams in the country. Yeah. You won a lot of games and stuff because, we travel on the 707 circuit. Mm-hmm. It's big now. I think it develops the quarterbacks, at a higher level now. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit and what you think the development process is with 707.
What 707 is just a natural progression. Like, these kids, and I work with USA Football. I'm an ambassador for them. And one of the things we always talk about is there are multiple entry points to the sport of football, right? Football was one of those where little kids, and I'm sure y'all know from the select days, where they would put helmets and shoulder pads on 6-year-olds and put them on 53 and a half wide by 120-yard field. And that was it. Y'all are playing full. But you wouldn't put a 5-year-old on a 10-foot basketball goal, right? You wouldn't put a 3-year-old on a full tennis court, right? Even hockey, they play sideways and then they go this way, right? Baseball, you start on coach pitch or T-ball and coach pitch and then machine, and then you get to the full. And then you still got to go 60 feet 6 once you get to high school. So there was always a progression, and I felt like in football, it was lacking that. And so when flag came about, we jumped on it. We were playing in Under the Lights in Southlake, and we had a good group. And we were fortunate to have a really good group of athletes that were homegrown. Everybody was from the same community. So that was the first thing, and which was rare, right? We didn't go out and get guys. We were local. And so we had all those kids. We played flag. And then at 4th and 5th grade, I started to tell them that flag is going to, not going to be a realistic picture of what football is going to be going forward. Right? We're not going to be reaching and trying to pull flags in the short area space, where you turn like this and the kid can't get you. I said, that's not realistic. We need to give the quarterbacks a spatial awareness of the width, the length of the field, like how exactly they need to execute. And so by doing that, I said, we're going to transition to 7-on-7. So the first 2 years, we just did league play, didn't do any tournaments. Then COVID hit. And I said, this is the year we wanted to get out and play real tournaments. It was our 6th grade year, so 2 years ago. So we put that group together, all homegrown. We went out and we played in Texas Elite tournaments. So we went and played there. They had a circuit. You can put it to a calendar. They're going to play twice a month. They got league play every 2 months. It was a great landing spot for us. So we go and we play and we win. And then we show up again and we win again. And next thing you know, we win. And next thing you know, we didn't lose a single game. So at that point, I'm like, shoot, these guys, they got a little something. All right, we might need to keep this group together. And so we were fortunate because in 7-on-7, it really is about the quarterback, right? You got to have a connection with your guy, and he has to see what you see. Because I'm not back there, remote control telling him where to go. He has to see it. We're fortunate. We got a kid by the name of Angelo Renda. He's a freshman over at South Lake Carroll now. Dude is a monster, right? Can sling it, can run. He's just a great football player, right? A tremendous athlete. But he understands, and he was this. He never got too high, never got too low. I need my guys here. And so Ange was that for us. His nickname is Cheetah, obviously because he can run. And but he can spin it. And so when we put Ange at quarterback and we put all those pieces around him, those athletes that can run routes and get open, we really started to make some noise. So we played up in a couple tournaments and did really well. And then that kind of led to this 8th grade year that we just had. So as we're building up that 8th grade, I knew I was going to lose them after 14U because I wanted them to focus on high school. So what did we do? We brought in another group. We had a 12U. So then we bring in those 6th graders that are now 7th graders in middle because we're about to go into the spring. But that group came in, and they started winning a bunch, right? And so the goal was to have those teams going and then eventually stretch it all the way down to my 6-year-old who's a kindergartner now. But when he starts coming up, I want him to do it. Then we're going to put up the red carpet behind him and say, hey, now we're going to follow his path. But the goal was to have that first group, which is the 14U from last year, go out there and ball out. So we did the tournaments, we traveled, we went to, we went out of state, we went out of our area, and we competed. And those guys, they showed up, man. They showed up. We compete. Like, if you mention FASST Elite and 7-on-7 in the same breath, people going to say, okay, them boys can go, right? And that's what I wanted. I wanted our 3-prong approach to sevens is development, competition, and exposure, right? We develop them. We're running real concepts. Right, we're not just making up, going quads to one side or isolating, throwing jump balls to one guy. That's cute and all, but that's not real football, right? You're not going to get that. We're running concepts that are going to help these young men accelerate that curve when they get to high school. That was my main goal. So we're going to develop. We're running real defenses. We're running cover 4. We're running pattern read. We're running cover 3. We're running 2-man, cover 2. Like, they're learning real concepts. And then the next part was competition. Our practices are probably more competitive than the games. If you see us in practice, you're like, damn, them dudes going at each other like they don't know each other. But I know that was the environment we needed to create to go against teams from Houston, to go against teams from Midwest Texas, right? To go against teams from Oklahoma and Iowa and all these other areas, and Florida when we went down there, from Georgia, right? We knew that's what it was going to take to play against those teams. And so we put them in those environments. Then the last part was exposure, right? Once we get it, we start documenting. At first, I wasn't real big on video recording everything, and I felt, like, oh, man, why should I have a camera out? But I realized that if you don't see it, did it really happen? Right? So at that point, I was like, let's make sure that we're documenting it. And so now we're getting the kids, and they understand the power of social media and connecting with guys like yourselves who can help their video or their film, their tape, go even further. And so we've embraced that now, right? And like I said, selfishly, I've embraced it with my own son, but we've embraced it as an organization. Like, that's going to be a key part of our development going forward. So when our teams are formed here in the next couple of weeks, that we know that they're going to develop, they're going to compete every week in practice, and then obviously in games, and then they're going to get the exposure that they need to help their star rise even further.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
Man, it's, that's the whole thing is in this community of training, for me, it's I love that approach because it's the same as mine, and I'm not one of those knuckleheads that feel like you can service every kid, right? You can't and be effective, right? If he has 10,000 kids in his program, how can he effectively service that many kids? And they're going to get out of it, what they need, right? So the kids in his area, he's able to effectively help them because the numbers are great to where he can maximize their potential every single day, right? I just think, situations like this are why, kids in Southlake are where they are because they start early. It's always this thing where you hear a lot of people say, man, that guy, he's in the NFL, he wasn't that good, years ago. Well, that's because that guy kept working, and sometimes guys grow later and they turn on later. So, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
I enjoy it.
That's one of my favorite guys. So
Yeah, we have a good time, Mark. We
Man.
get out there now. We compete.
No doubt. And that's why I wanted to bring you on right out the gate, because we want to introduce that, and that's kind of the whole thing about Flex Zone, about Epic, and On Your Mark show. We want to give you that exposure. We want to help you in recruiting as much as we can.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Jalen just a little bit. Jalen Pyle, that's my guy. He's a freshman right now, receiver at Southlake Carroll. Just talk about him just a little bit. And the Southlake Carroll program. A lot of times people don't get to see that on the inside. You're there. You can see it. So just shed a little light on that.
You know what? I think the biggest thing for us is that we put a tremendous team around Jalen. Again, going back to what I said in terms of development and curating opportunities for your kids and your athletes. And like I said, I had Coach Church down in Virginia Beach to kind of watch my movement and critique me and get me right to make sure I was ready to compete in college, and then it carried with me through the league. The same thing with Jalen, man. We got a tremendous personal team around Jalen to make sure that he's getting the stuff that he needs. And it all started with, if this is what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So when I asked him, if this is what you want to do, let's go. Because we got little bro behind you. He's ready to go. So I need to make sure if this, and he was like, I'm all in. And so we got him with, he does his performance training and strength training with me. He goes, sees, one of the best guys that I know in this world in terms of training is Coach Margin Hooks.
Shout out
and so,
to my guy Hooks,
Coach
no
Hooks is
doubt.
going to get you right. And so he trains with Sky's the Limit. Every week you're going to see Jalen. He's going to be training with him. Talk about putting the work in earlier. He's going to train with him. Then he's going to come back in the gym with me. He's going to see his stretch therapist up in Frisco. And so we're treating it for the level that we know he wants to play. He wants to play in college. Let's start treating it that way now, right? And then when you get to college and you choose to try to go to the league, let's go ahead and treat college like where you want to get to. So it was the old phrase, dress for the job you want, not the job you have right now. And so that's what we're doing. We're putting that environment around him. And then the good thing about it is that we're putting this around Jalen. He's building his skill set with Coach Hooks. He's getting stronger, getting faster. He's doing all the little things. He's getting more flexible and more pliable. And then he just brings that to the scheme that Southlake has. Right? Southlake has a great scheme for the guys to get the ball. They get the ball into their playmakers' hands, and they go make it happen. Right? Our freshman team, and I think I'm within reason to say that I don't think there's another 9th grade team that could beat Southlake's freshman team right now. Right, as presently constructed. I just don't see from what I've seen. And I follow social media, I see all these dudes over here, and maybe they're moving their guys up to varsity, and maybe that's why. But right now, as in terms of a 9th grade squad, Southlake is tough. Right, they got a good group of kids, and it's going to be interesting to see their path as they get individually move around. But again, my focus is on Jalen. Right, and my focus on him is what are we doing to make sure that he's getting the development, the coaching, the instruction, the encouragement, all those things that he needs so that he can move on to his next level, whatever that looks like. And so for us, like I said, we put that good team around him, guys that are going to stay on him, hold him accountable, but also motivate him and encourage him. And then, mom and dad, we right there, little bro, we right there behind him saying, we got your back. And so when he says, this is what I want to do, he's having a great season so far. I think he's averaging like 23 yards a catch, got like 9 or 10 touchdowns in 8 games. Like he's balling, right? He's taking 5-yard hitches and going, 60 to the house, right? He's running, he's at the line of scrimmage. Nobody's getting hands on him. And this is just a manifestation of the work that he's put in consistently, right? It's not just, I'm going to go to Hooks once a week. Mm-hmm. Every Sunday morning at 8:30, we on the road driving out to go train. And if it ain't Sunday, then it's a Friday after school. And if it ain't a Friday, it's a Tuesday after school. We're doing whatever it takes for him to get that building, adding tools to the bag. And then he goes into the gym. Hey, he lifts at the school, we're going to lift in my gym, right? He goes and they're working on whatever. We're going to work on our sprint mechanics. We're going to work on our testing because we know that's going to be part of his path as he keeps going forward. And so we're fortunate, again, to, one, have the time and opportunity to be able to do these things. But at the same time, it all starts with the athlete. If this is what you want to do. And Jalen has shown that, and then it's manifested on film. So, the film, the honest guy don't lie,
no
right?
doubt.
So it ain't like one of those things where you can talk a good game. Man, I think Jalen is, you're seeing it.
Absolutely.
The kid is a ball player. He's a great ball player. And the thing that would probably impress all of us in this room is wait till you see that reel of him blocking. When we put that blocking reel together and how he's exposed and how he's helped his boys get in the end zone and finish and turn quarterback runs and receiver catches and friggin' running back runs from 5 yards to 50, when you see that receiver blocking reel that he got, man, you're going to be like, that's a legit ball player.
No doubt.
I'm like, routes, and I don't see any freshmen running routes like him. Hands, putting it together, creating separation. But the blocking, that's a sign of unselfishness, and I get it. Football IQ, like you were talking about earlier. So that's what I love about my son, man. He's balling, and I'm excited for his path.
He sounds like a kid I know.
Absolutely.
And he wear number 6 too. Hold on now.
He sounds like
Hold
a
on now.
kid I
He wears
know.
6 too now.
That's something we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
We met several years ago, but that was the most impressive thing. Besides his body control about Boogie, his blocking, he's tenacious at it. And I asked him about it in a previous show, and I'll have to post that so y'all can watch it. That's something he takes pride in, and that's what makes the team better.
Yeah.
That's the winning mentality and makes the team better down the line.
Yeah,
now, before we get out of here,
Talk
tell
to me.
everybody where they can find FASST Performance. They
Oh,
want
yeah.
to check you guys out.
Absolutely.
Social medias, website, and everything.
Absolutely. So our website is the word itrainfast with 2 S's.com. You go on there, you can navigate, you can go to you'll see our training, you'll see our 7-on-7. We will be hosting tryouts in a couple of weeks. 14U, that's your age as of January 1st, 2023, and also 12U, your age as of January 1st, 2023. We're going to have those 2 teams doing their workouts in a couple of weeks in South Lake. That'll be on the website. And then the training, we're always doing the training, every week. But if you go on there, itrainfast with 2 S's.com, it has our email, my contact information, all of our social media as itrainfast, our Facebook, our Twitter, that's on there. And then you can also find our FAST Elite also on IG. So FAST, F-A-S-S-T, Elite 7v7. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. And obviously, like I said, you're going to see us at a tournament near you with some guys that's ready to go. And we take the kids from all over the Metroplex, man. We're expanding, and we're excited to keep this thing going in 2023.
Man, well, I appreciate you hopping on, man, today, man. That's what we want to do here at the On Your Mark Show. And definitely this won't be our last.
Yeah,
When we get ready to start the 7-on-7 season, we're going to do a whole thing each week on 7-on-7. You'll be back to talk about
Yes,
that a
sir.
little
I'm
bit.
excited.
We'll pause just for a second here at Fishbowl Studios, the On Your Mark Show, brought to you by EPIC Sports Apparel, every play I compete. We'll be back to talk a little recruiting with my guy Scott Rapp from Prep Redzone Texas.
Yes, sir.
What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark Show. Powered and sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark Show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark Show at Fishbowl Studios. We out.
Probably next week.
We are back here on the On Your Mark Show, powered sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel. Every play I can be from Fishbowl Studios on the Fishbowl Network. My guy Scott Rapp has brought me a couple of guys he wants to talk about here from Prep Redzone Texas. Scott, let's talk about them a little bit. Who are you got for me?
The first one is Noah Ferris, class of 2024 quarterback out of Harlan down in the San Antonio area. A little hidden gem down there. 5'10", 160 pounds. Dual threat quarterback, good with the feet as well. His demeanor is super mature for class of 2024. You see him when he runs a play. He just doesn't get rattled. Got great poise. Accurate, high velocity arm. Super good kid. Makes real good decisions. Some interesting things about him. Dad was military, so he was actually born in Okinawa, Japan. He played soccer growing up and actually didn't play organized football until middle school. But playing soccer, at the age of 12, he was invited to play on the 16U men's national soccer team.
That's big.
Wow.
So the kid's been an athlete, and it just translated into him being a quarterback. He doesn't need to be in the spotlight, but he's okay with taking that back seat and letting his teammates shine. And I think that's what makes him a good quarterback too. And being a leader under center, it transfers to the rest of the team. And I think that's good. And the other one is he actually caught my eye a couple of weeks ago in the Frisco Heritage Frisco game. Houston Brookshire out of Frisco Heritage, 6'2", 175 pounds, class of 2023. The kid is long and rangy, has a huge catch radius, wins jump balls easily. He was a popular target that night in that game, and I mean, there was passes thrown that you were like, yeah, that's not going to be caught. But then you would look, and Houston would pull away with it. I mean, it was just the kid is athletic and will go get it. He's really, really good at creating separation, and he can find a way to get open. Even though he doesn't look open, he's open. I promise you. Interesting things about him, he was actually born in the inner city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's been in the DFW area for about a year. He's one of 6 children. Big family. They all support him very well. He actually wanted to be an astronomer at one time. Both of them highly intelligent kids.
Absolutely.
Both carry 4.0 GPAs, so they're both not only performing on the field but in the classroom as well. And just 2 kids I wanted to spotlight that have really caught my eye recently.
Well, that's what we do here. I'm also a scout with Prep Redzone Texas. We try to shine a light on hidden gems, and when we talk to the big guys, but it's always a guy that flies under the radar, and that's kind of, from a scouting perspective, that's kind of what we do at Prep Redzone Texas. But before we get out of here, 2 games that are coming up. I know everybody's got their eyes on here in the Metroplex. We'll start with Southlake, Carroll, and Byron Nelson. Talk about that a little bit. Just give me your short answer. We'll start with you, Coach, and we'll go back around and come back to me.
I got Southlake, man.
All right. Coach.
I like that. Yeah, I'm going to go with the home team. I think Southlake is prepared, and obviously, the coaching staff will have them boys ready to go. Byron's a good team, though, but I got Southlake.
Scott, who you got?
Rolling with the Dragons.
Well, I'll be the guy that sticks out like a sore thumb. I think that this is the year that Byron Nelson comes back. I know that coach.
Taking a chance.
I'm taking a chance on Nelson defensively. I think that they got to stop Owen Allen first, and then get to the passing game. Put some, break that monotony up of the Southlake offense. Once Southlake gets you in their radar, that quick game, they get you there. Yeah. I think this is the year that Nelson gets them. Okay. Now let's look at the big picture now. Right. The big one that everybody's looking at, DeSoto, Duncanville. Coach, I'll start with you.
All right.
This is a tough one.
Right. I know. For him specifically.
I'll paint the picture for you just a little bit. Coach is a DeSoto resident.
Right. I was about to say,
his son is a DeSoto former player. He's over at DeSoto a lot. You know what I'm saying? He knows. I know those guys over there well as well. I know a few of the Duncanville coaches and players as well. But just give me your synopsis. You don't have to pick a winner.
All right, Coach Sweeney, Coach Mathis, man, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I got a close game. I think just looking at Duncanville, this year, I still think up front, Duncanville is still going to pose a huge problem for DeSoto. Skill-wise, evenly matched always. I think it's going to come down to the trenches. And right now I see advantage, Duncanville. So I'm saying Duncanville in the close game.
Coach?
I agree. Similar to the Southlake game, that weather may play a factor, right? And if you can't get that ball in the air, you got to have a strong ground game and guys that can stop the run. And I feel like Southlake is in that mode, and same thing with Duncanville. Just outside looking in. I'm not down on the south side like y'all, but I do follow you on Twitter and get all the posts and updates. But I'm going to go ahead and say Duncanville with their running backs and that up front guys on both sides. I think they're going to walk down the field on DeSoto.
Scott?
I agree. Duncanville in a good one.
Well, Duncanville, the mantra over there is lock the gates. When they lock the gates on you, they don't let you out. Now, I will tell you this. I've seen both teams probably about 3 times each. Duncanville played a team from Florida that they handled very well. The only blemish on DeSoto's record was the St. Francis. I could talk about that at the whole show. They had guys that were ready. Yeah. And, it was just a thing where they had guys at each position that were already, college ready, whereas, DeSoto maybe had 2 or 3 in each position. Yeah. But I think, DeSoto has the offense to compete. There you go. But who's going to block Simmons? Who's going to block January? Can they solve that? Yeah. They have 3 backs that can go over at DeSoto. They may be a key. DJ Bailey seems to be burgeoning. One of the top quarterbacks, maybe that people not talking about it in the state, not just in the area. Mm-hmm. If he sets his eyes right, and Jonte Cook and those guys get to kind of get in the open field, then it could be a game. But, weather may play a factor. It's supposed to be raining. Yeah. It's going to be heavily on the running game. That defense travels. So I'm going to go with Duncanville just because, who do they have answer up front? Colin Simmons, number one player, in my opinion, on defense in the class of 2024, not just in the state, in Texas. He can get it done. He does it all. I think that Duncanville, it's in a close one. I want to say 24-21 may come down to the kicking game.
Yeah, good point. And Coach Steph, I'm surprised you didn't bring up the other one in the state. That's a big one on Thursday. North Shore and Atascocita. We both got our boy Derek Blaylock. Little Tory out there getting work. But they got North Shore and Atascocita on Thursday night, so they're gonna avoid the weather. So all systems go. Talk to me, Coach. I ain't even take a show over, but I got questions.
I may be going to that game.
So here's the thing with that. Me being a resident before I moved to DeSoto of Atascocita, I know both programs very well. Know a lot of the kids that are playing now on both programs. I'm one of those. You have to beat them before I can say you can beat them. Yeah. And Atascocita just hadn't got over that hump yet with anybody in North Shore. So I got to give the edge to North Shore until Atascocita gets over that hump, because they've just been able to handle Atascocita every time they've played. So I mean, being from Atascocita is like you want them to win, but it's like the reality of it is North Shore got their number. Right. And it's pretty much almost the same. When was the last time DeSoto beat Duncanville? It's been a minute, right? Yeah. It's been over 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, definitely a whole crew class.
When they won state in 2016.
Right. So, again, it's like, how can you root for them until they beat them? Right. And then you could say,
Well, I happen to grew up in the Houston area, too, and so I kind of know both teams as well. Armandor has been playing great. The receiver that moved over is UTSA commit. Has been playing quarterback since Bailey went down against Sid King. Right. Zion Brown may be the difference. He's the quarterback.
Yeah. He's a dog.
He's a dog.
He can go.
He's a dog.
Conley on defense. Corner, one of the top cornerbacks in the state.
He's a dog.
They got a big fella up front.
Yeah.
350 pounds.
They stay with those.
Yeah. So this might be the time that this is Atascocita's time to sneak them. They may not be ready. Right. But on the flip side,
it's North Shore.
North Shore.
It's North Shore.
On the front, some of the best in the country.
It's North Shore, man.
They lost Bailey right after that and still rushed for over 200 yards. My guy, Baby Bo, Rashad Johnson, one of the best backs in the state.
That's my dude.
Gotta have it.
Rashad, he's a monster.
If I'm picking, I would go with North Shore with the experience. Right. But don't sleep on Zion Brown that's coming out as the victor on that.
Yeah, I mean, just outside looking in. I see my boy D Block's posts. I follow the kids. I want to see how they doing, because obviously you want to be successful. And I'm sitting there looking. I'm like, man, those guys they got some dudes on that team. And then you look at North Shore and you're like, dang, that dude's only a sophomore and he was starting in the state championship. Man, he's only a junior and he started it, and it's like the experience. But I like that Atascocita played Katy early. Right, that helps. You've been similar. Yeah, you've been in the mix. Right. You've been tested. You've been challenged, and it was a close game. It ain't like they got blown out, and then it was a tight game. And so it's like, at some point, like you said, you got to punch the bully in the mouth and see what it's going to take. But I'm excited. Like I said, that's one of those NFHS games that you hope to subscribe and pull up, because that's going to be online.
I'll say the difference is, and I know, Blaylock, again, my house was right up the street, so. We're boys, and had the pleasure of watching Zion, very early. He's one of those kids, every play I compete, meaning, I would go outside and go up to the school. We're getting ready to train. He's by himself, working out, and then Dad will show up. So he's beating Dad to the school. Okay. That kid, and I'm not talking about this 6th, 7th grade. Right. You know what I'm saying? We were in the same neighborhood. So the kid got it. Yeah. So I'm saying he's probably going to be that difference his senior year.
Okay.
But he's coming, though.
He's coming.
Okay.
I keep tracking him.
He might be the one to take down North Shore, his guys, before senior year, before he leaves.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
As long as they have the pieces around them, I think they're close, but the one thing about North Shore, and I heard this, I heard this years ago when I first moved here to Texas, that North Shore have more guys walking around in their school that don't play football. They can go start anywhere.
Wow, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And that just stuck out in my head.
that,
Yeah, they just
That's impressive.
you know, they got it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? They have that system, kind of like your Duncanvilles and South Lakes, and they have that infrastructure where they just keep turning them over. Right. You know, they just, I mean, they're everywhere.
Sound like a big week in the state, fella.
But then when you think about it, look at it like this. For North Shore, I think, and I don't know a whole lot of other school districts, but North Shore is probably one of the only school districts that has the feeder school that feeds to North Shore only.
Yeah.
3
Yep.
middle schools.
Yep. That makes sense.
3 middle schools.
That makes sense.
Nobody else over there. There is no other high school.
Yeah.
So they have a plethora of talent that's feeding.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get it.
So it's like, and then when you add the zip code killers, the guys.
Hey now.
Hey, that's another show in itself.
Hey now.
That's another show in itself. Again, I am Mark Henry here on the On Your Mark Show on Fishbowl Studios. Big Hen Speaks is the last part of the show. Nurture your gifts, man. Put people around yourself that are nurturing your gifts. Use your gifts to your advantage, man. That's what we're doing here on the On Your Mark Show. Again, for Coach Johnson, my guy Willie Pyle from FASST Performance, and Scott Rapp from Prep Redzone Texas. I am Mark Henry. We'll see you next week here at 11 o'clock from Fishbowl Studios.
Let's do it.
What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark Show. Powered and sponsored by EPIC Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark Show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark Show at Fishbowl Studios. We out.